All right, and we are live. Andy's AI note taker is the first in the room today. I think that's the first time AI has won the award for first in the room. All right. Filling up nice and busy today. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Kevin,
Yeah.
how's it going? I've yet to watch the football, Kevin, so no revealing any scores. I'll be watching Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and then it's Brighton, Tottenham. Yeah, I'll be watching that later. All right, nice. Morning, Tony. Hello, Kimberly. All right. So Scott is with the FinRev developers today with nose to the grindstone, working on the new updates. Ian, what new updates are you talking about, Ian? Why don't I know anything about this? Any FinRev members, just head to the FinRev group and you'll see a post that says updates. Okay, so you want to have a read of that if you're a FinRev member, so that you understand the updates that are coming. There's a video. It's about 30 minutes. It's a behind the scenes video of the dev team and the COO Howard and the CEO Scott all discussing nerd stuff, but it's not over nerdy, and it's really worth watching that. Okay, let's get into today then. So I put a post in the group yesterday. I just put retardio and then lots of laughing afterwards. And there was people saying, is this cryptic, Ian? What is this? And what's that? And what's this? And what's this? So the 100X is really simple. It's a signal service. Like, that's it at the end of the day. It's a signal service. Maurizio or Scott, they tell you when to buy, and they also tell you when to sell. Everything else in the middle period is emotional intelligence, to not have a tantrum and just bitch publicly like a child because things haven't gone the way that you wanted them to go. That's the first part of it, is that emotional intelligence. And then the second part of the 100X Club is the hobbyist stuff. So we really roll out the red carpet on the hobbyist stuff, okay? And that's what all the stuff in the welcome post is for. So you can see Maurizio doing a spaghetti chart, and then you can go and recreate your spaghetti chart as well. So use the welcome post. All right, so let's have a look at Bitcoin and what Bitcoin has been up to, and then we'll hand over to Maurizio for the trades. So let's start on the monthly chart. I'm sure there's probably buttons I can press to make this slicker and easier to get to, but there we go. You got to live with it. All right. So a few new lines on the charts today. You know, anybody that's been watching the commentary for the past at least 7 months will see that we don't draw new lines unless we really have to. But this one is super interesting to me. Each of these weeks I've been opening up and I've been talking about this range that we've held here on the monthly. And I may or may not have mentioned in the past that every month we get this downside wicking behavior. What happens in the past is not guaranteed to happen in the future. But if I was to look at this chart and just to say to you, there's been a downside wick every month for the last 7 months, what percentage do you put on that we might have a downside wick this month? You know, percentage is probably going to be quite high. Why do you care about these downside wicks? Bargain buying opportunities. Anybody that's DCAing into Bitcoin with a 2 or even 3 year cycle outlook, you're just eating up all of these downside wicks whenever they happen. So this is almost like the kind of clairvoyancy, you know what I mean? If you were to look at this and think, well, you know, maybe I can still snag some 60,000 Bitcoin, some 59,000 Bitcoin. That's all DCA is. And this is one way that you can look at it and, you know, think, is there a chance of bargain buying? But now what's really interesting is if we look over here, so we've been talking about this range holding, but if we look over here, what does this, what is this? Well, this is a previous resistance. Bitcoin got up to here. Yeah, we got some wicks to the upside. So remember that wicks are an extreme of emotion. To the top, they're extreme greed. To the bottom, they're extreme fear. Okay. So this is a previous resistance. So this means that this range has flipped a previous resistance into a new support, and we've now held it for coming into an 8th month. And if we look at this candle that is currently printing here, we can see that we retested the bottom of this range and we produced a downside wick. And notice this red line as well. This is a resistance, thereabouts of 63,500. We'll be looking at that resistance again on the lower time frame charts, okay? So that resistance, you know, it's been in play for a couple of months now. We've been able to break it, but I mean, we closed above it there, we closed below it there, we went above it, and we just kind of closed on the line of it next month. And now we're just below it as a resistance. So this kind of 63.5, this is where we get these resistances from on the higher time frames. And then we can start to move down and look at what's happening on the lower time frames. So if we come off of the monthly now, and then we go to the weekly. So the story of the week on the weekly for me was this retesting candle here. And we went all the way back and we retested the downtrend that we'd broken out of on the weekly. It was a pretty volatile retest in the end. So if you look at that candle, you look at the shape of it and you look at that long wick and you look at where it's gone, that's how you can say that's a volatile retest. Volatile just means like it's going to go all the way and it's going to test the support. So it tested, if you look here, it tested the this 60,000 line, which I think is easier to see as a resistance point on the daily. You just get this back up, and retested the downtrend line as well. So this is where you can be near side bearish, but still fully bullish. So this is kind of the point of these calls, that we can look at the market and say, okay, then we've got a breakout here. We're more than likely going to have a retest. So a retest means that we're probably going to pull back. So this is why breakout trades can be tricky to navigate. I think that there's still some examples of the safe leverage course in the 100X Club. The entire course is not in there, but if you just search the word leverage, okay, then you might catch Scott talking about some breakout trades. And one of the things that he says about breakout trades is that they're not that comfortable to trade, because they can retest, they can go along sidewards for 2 or 3 or 4 days before they kind of fizzle out. So this is where you can just watch and learn and start to understand a bit more about, like, but you guys said everything was really good and it was really bullish, so why is the price going down? Because these technical aspects, they play out, okay? So from the weekly and from the monthly, we can then start to go to the daily, and we can look more at what actually has to happen with the price action on the daily. And then if you wanted to, you could go from the daily, you could keep moving it down to the 4 hour if you wanted, and then you could figure out more of what these candles are doing. But if we just look at the price action here, this is where these, you know, this here, this correlates with what we saw on the weekly chart when we were looking at that retest, only we can see it over a number of candles. And you can see that this kind of, you know, close to 61,000, you know, that was the line that we've had earmarked for months and months and months. And we did exactly what we saw before. We come down, we retested, this breakout line, we move sidewards, and now we're up and off. So now on the daily, you could start thinking to yourself, well, what are all those price action patterns that Scott's always going on about? The lowest low in 10 bars, higher close, lower close. Like, has that happened yet? Have we had kind of a lowest low in 10 bars, a higher close, and a lower close? And where are we going next? Well, that 63,000 line, you remember that from the monthly? That was really clear and easy to see on the monthly chart as to why that 63,000 is, or, you know, close to 63,500, why that is such an important line for us to recapture. You know, we want to get back up to that line, then we want to have a weekly close above it. And then if necessary, we want to carry on and have a monthly close above it. It might be that we're still inside this range in October, but we flip up to the top half, we weekly close above it, we maybe touch the top of the range, and then we see similar action to here, where you need a few days before it breaks out to kind of over, you know, to either side. So I'm expecting some version of this behavior here to happen again, somewhere around here. Now it's just a case of getting there. And then we could look and we could say, well, aren't there a bunch of encouraging signs, you know? Like people might start saying, well, that looks like a higher low has been printed there. Isn't that bullish, Ian? This looks like a higher high. Isn't that bullish, Ian? So there's all these different pieces of information that we can use, right? But we can quickly get overwhelmed, you know? Like we could also go and look at bull market EMAs. I think that's the 21 moving average. You could look at the pi cycle indicator. You could get this up as an indicator as well, and you could look at where we are, you know, but it just gets kind of deeper and deeper, and then you can end up with too much evidence, right? Then you really cross over into that, having the technical analysis ability to understand why you're separating all of these different bits. So really just try and keep it as simple as like just these lines of resistance, you know, understanding where we got that kind of 63,400 line from and how easy it is to see on the monthly, and then transposing it to the daily. Well, we could just basically, we could summarize this as, right, that red line, we need to close above it, retest if necessary, but that's where we need to get to. That's all you need to look at this week. Like you really could just isolate it down to, well, I think that the key event to happen this week is reclaiming this range and maybe weekly closing above, sorry, I said range, this red line, and maybe even weekly closing above that red line, okay? Now, the other thing that is of real interest, and we looked at this last week as well, is the Bitcoin dominance. Let's get it up on this monthly chart as well. So yeah, I got a number of nice little circles on here, and we looked at this, I'm sure, last week. Okay. Whenever we interact with this kind of 58%, historically, Bitcoin dominance, it tends to take off. Okay. And then if we look at, you know, you could also draw kind of lines here as well, and then you could make that a range, and then you could look at how it breaks out of the range here. And if you really studied that information of how these breakouts happen in these kind of reaccumulation ranges that happen, and then you look at Scott's lowest low in 10 bars, higher close, lower close, and you look how that price action interacts with what would be I don't know, man, there's so many different names, you know, a flag, you know, like a pennant, whatever you want to call it. But you could just draw lines there and say, well, okay, we've seen that sinusoidal price action, higher close, lower close. It's fun when you get into it. But basically, you can also just draw a line there and say, well, we're up and away, aren't we? And if you look at last month's candle, you know, that's like a, well, we're not quite sure. We've touched it, but we're not quite sure if we're ready to go or not. Okay. And then you look at what's happening this month, boom, we're straight back up to that line. We've gone above it. We've just pulled back a little bit. Now the question is, what's going to happen when we reclaim that range and then we push above it? Well, nothing is ever guaranteed, but to me, once we recapture that 58%, then, well, I think that things will be hotting up even more. So there's a whole bunch of, you know, information and statistics and you know, whatever you whatnot, right? But at the end of the day, all of that stuff that I've just gone through, it's just nice stuff, unless you've got the ability to turn it into trades, which is what Maurizio is here for, and his rundown and his daily videos as well. There's so much alpha in those daily videos. There's so much, this is what we're looking at, this is what we're going to do, this is where we're going to go. Okay, so be sure to tune into those videos. And with that said, dude, now you show us how we can make money from that information.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really good week. Like, it's been a really, really good week. We had good trades. We had some stopped outs and stuff like that. But yeah, I just want to reiterate, guys, that obviously, yeah, those levels, lines, or whatever you want to call it, is whatever everybody's watching in a way, right? It's what the price actually tells you, the levels that people are willing to buy and sell. Okay, and at the end of the day, is that's what you're looking for. What are people are willing to buy at in order to actually continuation of the price going up, or what people are willing to actually sell at for a retracement. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the whole essence of it. So a line, you know, I've been drawing lines from the weekly levels. They're very strong because obviously high time traders, they high time frame traders, or, you know, swing traders or whatever, they want to deploy capital the best times as possible, and you need to have the big picture in place in order to know if any asset is actually a good price. You know what I mean? That's what we're trying to do in trading, right? Buying at a good price, and hopefully the price appreciates if we do a spot, or we can do long and short, and different mindsets around it. So yeah, so well said in terms of the levels. So have that in mind. You know, it's those levels are there for a reason in a way, and it's just to figure out where the price has been and what the price is going to do after it hits that range. Is it going to retrace, or is it going to keep going? Who knows? No one knows. That's the whole thing of it. And it's probability, and we just control risk, and that's what it is, right? Obviously, I'm going to speak a little bit about the difference between a spot and leverage, because obviously there's two different mindsets. I don't, when I trade the spots, I just start accumulating because I know long, medium terms, obviously in the next couple months, we're going to have, it looks like we're going to have a bull run. The bull run seems to be coming. All the data suggests that. So I'm accumulating on my spot backs. I don't care. I don't put any stop loss. I'm just do a different type of research. Now with leverage, it's a different story. I'm a little bit more aware of risk. I control with my stop loss. I control with taking some profits, which I'm going to talk about it today. So with that being said, let's jump into it. And we'll go through some trades, because we did have very, very good trades last week.
Yeah, let's start off in some of those winners.
All right, so where are we at? So let me go through the market first. Let's go through. Not yet. Okay, sorry.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, just move this. All right. So we have total three. So total three. This is the daily, by the way. Let me start from the monthly, and we'll start the whole scaling down. All right. So from the monthly perspective, right, on the total three, which is the whole alt market. Monthly looks pretty good. This level seems to be sustained. However, this month haven't closed. We still have pretty much a whole month. Things could happen here. So ideally, from the bigger picture, we want to close above this level, right? We want to close above this green line in a way, for the 500 billion sort of market cap, right? So we start sort of assessing that if we're going to get it through the weekly or through the daily, right? And obviously, that's when you get volatility. A lot of people buy, sell, all the sort of stuff. So that's kind of the bullish picture of it is still intact in my view. Like the long-term bullish picture is intact. When it's not going to be intact, when the monthly sort of start closing below these levels, then I'm start de-risking more than likely, or not buying any more spot, or start selling stuff like that, right? Because data suggests that we might not get that pull, like push to the upside, right? So, and it could be a lot of factors, right? Remember that we still have this conflict going on, right? And I think this rally, this little rally that we had over the weekend is just a, nothing has happened yet, but as soon as something happens, volatility is going to come in. People are going to sell positions. People are going to de-risk, especially institutions. We're going to assess that to see if that's going to happen or not. But we still have on the table, right? I still think bullish war and all those conflicts are good for markets in a way, but it's going to get volatile. So if you do have some leverage positions, then you need to be aware of it. If you don't, that's fine, I guess, in my opinion. On the spot, I'm still riding the bull wave in a way. So that's where we at. And if we drop that on the weekly, which is close. So the positive thing is it close above this. So and we have this week down. So what that means is people sold, but then it's a lot of buying power around here in the alts world, right? Is this going to close above this thing next week? Can this close above this here next week? Hopefully, right? And then we'll be on technically, because we'll be very, very close to breaking this structure, and that basically will trigger a buying frenzy in a way, right? So paying close attention to this, what's going to happen. And if we go back in the daily, right? So very nice days of like over the weekend, and over the weekend, historically, it's a lot of retail trading, right? Like it's a lot of people non-institutional trading. So that's why today, tomorrow, we might see what's going on in terms if that continuation will still going, or we're gonna have a pullback. But remember that we do have that. I'm still have it in my head that we do have that conflict going on. With that being said, obviously, be mindful in terms of sizing. Be mindful in terms of going long, like completely. Can this breaks completely all time highs tomorrow? Yeah, it can. Can this drop? Yeah, it can. So obviously, that's when we assess probabilities. Okay, so that's what I see in terms of the total three. So I'm still like right there. As you can see, it's like retesting these highs again. So we'll see in Bitcoin, because obviously Bitcoin is the driver. So let's go through the monthly chart on Bitcoin, which Ian already sort of explained. But I did draw this line here from the daily perspective, and it seems like that line is actually holding pretty well, which is on the 60 to 300 level. If we go back to the weekly, right? So the weekly, yeah, you can actually see how amazing these lines hold, right? When you actually draw it, and you can see the retest, what happened there, because obviously people are interested to buy or sell those levels, okay? So this level was pretty interesting. A lot of people bought here, and that was when the news first came out with the conflict in Israel. So if we go back on the daily, you can actually see how good this level is holding. And that was sort of the catalyst to start taking some long trades for me. But the fact we just closed above this, the 62, but we haven't break this structure. All right. So anything can happen here in a way that either this retrace and retest, we have another retest to the 60 levels, or we break above, or we stay above this level, right? And it's just probability. So how do I assess the probabilities in a way? So we go and we assess with more data, right? So we do have the bidder data, which is the open interest. It doesn't give me much, to be honest. At the moment, I'm not looking at any indication that we're going to hold or any indication that everything is going to drop. I'm 50-50 sort of deal, right? What you at, Ian? What probability you are in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, this is a real. I'm glad that you stopped here, Maurizio, because I was going to ask, like, that Velo data screen is quite intimidating. So
Yep.
we have got a open interest interpretation document that's in the welcome post, that can help people understand that. But broadly speaking, Maurizio, in a short answer, tell people why you're interested in looking at that open interest. Like, really, in a nutshell, what information is that open interest giving you that you think, I think I'll look at this to get some information?
Perfect. So open interest is the measure of how many trades are open in the market, long and short. Okay. This is on futures, by the way. This is not a spot. Essentially, when people start opening longs at a high leverage, you're going to see a spike on open interest towards the uprise of price, right? Because people are opening trades towards the upside. When you see that people start closing trades, then you see the open interest is reducing like this. But it's tricky to analyze because obviously, if I open a trade, you kind of don't know. The open interest doesn't give you the value that is a long or short. It's just telling you that it's open positions in the market. Okay, so you need to sort of reassess if they open longs or they open short. So that's kind of important to know where the market's at when you see an impulse, for instance, right here, right on this bottom, which is around the 53,000 level, and you see that it's not very compelling. There's going to be times that you're going to see it really right off the bat, especially on liquidations. When liquidations happen around this level, this is a really good example. So some liquidations happen here. So obviously you see a massive drop on open interest because a lot of positions get closed, right? Therefore, after that, you can start seeing some positions being open right here. And if you marry that with price action, then you could assess to go long if people are actually buying at these levels, especially on leverage. So that's the importance on open interest. It gives you extra data what people are doing in the futures market, in the swap, in the contracts.
Perfect. So I know that people can't see my screen at the moment, but what I've got open on my screen right now is the welcome post, and I'm looking about 3/4 of the way down the welcome post at the open interest, price, volume, and interpretation chart. So on there's basically 3 questions that it's asking me. It's asking me, is the price going up or is the price going down? So we're looking at Bitcoin, and I believe that the price is going up at the moment. The next question it's asking me is the volume going up or is the volume coming down? So the volume is the top line, the top box that Maurizio is looking at. So it looks to me like the volume is going up. The next question it asks me is the open interest going up or is that going down? Now, the open interest is the next one. Now, I mean, when I look at this immediately, I'm like, well, on that view, it looks like open interest is just going in a straight line. It doesn't really look like it's up or it's down. But if I look at, if I really try and focus in on, I mean, it looks more that it's going up than it's going down. by pure eyeball. So on the interpretation then, with price up, volume up, and open interest up, the interpretation is strong, bullish, price continuation rise. So I think that captures, in a nutshell, what Maurizio was showing us. And we'll get back to that original question about the percentage. But the key thing here is that we just got to the same thing that Maurizio got to by just using that interpretation chart. So really do check out that welcome post. So back to your original question then, Maurizio, which was about the percentage. Did you ask what percentage do I feel?
Yes. Like what do you reckon? And that's pretty much a good question for the chat, for everybody. What do you guys think right now on this level? Or you know, we have Bitcoin at 62,730. Tell me who thinks that is going to hit this level, the 64, or who thinks is going to, we have three options here. Either goes all the way up, wiggles around this level a little bit before it actually goes up or down, or it comes back and retests the 60-ish level. So, all right, so Christopher, little bullish. So we have a lot of bullishness. So we have a 64 and bounce back down, looks bullish, wiggles up and down. Wiggle until close to the election, yep. Retest and take off. All right, interesting. So what are you reckoning in?
Well, I think I'm about 80% that we're going to be looking to retest this kind of 63 level. So I'm kind of 80% that we're going to be hanging around that kind of 63 level, really. I'm 80%, you know, 10% that we just shoot off to the moon, 10% that we crash and burn, and then I'm 80% that we kind of wiggle sidewards and that we perform a retest, and then I would reevaluate my percentage after that retest, if it happens.
Right.
Doesn't have to
Got
happen.
it. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, because this is where I'm at as well. I'm sort of 50-50 either way, up and down, you know, and I do have a really, I don't have a strong sort of opinion on if we're going to get a breakdown. Like I'm kind of halfway of everything. Okay. I'm completely bullish long term, definitely, but short term, in order to actually get more positions. So, you know, get advantage of pullbacks to start buying this week right now, or what should I do? Then I'm sort of all 50-50. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know, especially with all the fundamentals going on at the moment, right? So yeah, I think we are, you know what I mean? Like if you are 80% around here, right, that's a good assessment. I would call it like, yeah, that's actually where I'm at the moment. So obviously I do like, this is short term, guys. And obviously long term, definitely I'm going to see that that Bitcoin is going to hit all-time highs. But short term, which is basically what we look to actually get position on the leverage or get position, then we have to pay close attention to this, right? So that's where I'm at in terms of Bitcoin. And as you can see, everybody is sort of in the same different, like no one knows in a way. And this could actually just hit this level. There's another interesting level that is forming right here. If you see all these closes, there seems to be a lot of liquidity around these ones, around the 63 area, as you mentioned, Ian. So if I draw another line, that could be another interesting level right there. So it could then be on this range. After we do have the election as well, like we do have election coming in November. We have a lot of fundamentals that is going to get pretty crazy. All right. So in terms of Ethereum, Ethereum is not doing much, to be honest. But I feel that Ethereum is just sleeping for the time being. However, There's a lot of stuff happening in the layer one aspect. It's a lot of competition now. We'll see if this one wakes up, but if it does, which I'm looking to definitely go long on Ethereum, especially on leverage, because it's been the volatility of Ethereum has been pretty low. So that's the best sort of positions that you want to get into the leverage, right? You don't want to get leverage when the volatility is quite high, because you can get stopped out or you can get wrecked completely on your account. So this is kind of the best opportunities that you can actually get when volatility is quite down, when you actually want to go in leverage. So I'm looking at this one quite closely. Solana is actually performing quite well as well. So it actually held back. So I was looking at it over the weekend, but it's still, everything looks pretty much the same. So what I want to highlight is the S&P 500. So S&P 500 is almost at the all-time highs. It's going to be very important what happens today and tomorrow. If people start, like, especially in the S&P 500, will people start de-risking, before the news? Because now it seems to be a little bit more action in the Israel stuff. It was a little bit of a break if you look at the fundamentals on the conflict and whatever, because I think they were in the religious break and stuff like that. So nothing like there's not a lot of activity going on, but now it seems to be a little bit more activity. Therefore, people start de-risking on this event. The Europe, same thing. Japan, same thing, sort of deal. So I'm just cautious of that. Okay, I'm just cautious of that in terms of taking new positions. So with that being said, let me jump into the positions that we took, because this is my plan. So we got in Popcat. Thanks, Scott. That was a great trade. Fantastic trade, right? Definitely, this was the trade. We are right here at the moment. So essentially, so in terms of leverage, right? We are 4 or 5, almost 5 risk reward return. So it's looking really good. Like, it's looking fantastic. Obviously, we could get a little bit volatility. So someone in the group, I think, it was asking me, is it worth to actually get into Popcat right now? If I give you that question, if you did not enter Popcat, would you be buying Popcat at this stage? Yes or no? Give me a shout. What do you guys think on the chat? That's great. Right. Technically, me neither, right? Obviously, however, right, if I go leverage, I wouldn't do leverage position on Popcat as it stands today. Definitely not. Would I start thinking about doing a spot position? Yeah, maybe, perhaps, right? I'll buy, like, if I'm really want to get rid of my FOMO and get into this thing, I might just start buying a little bit here. And if it drops, because this one cannot, like, can just keep going and going and going. So essentially, we don't know if Bitcoin continue to go. If continue the this is pretty interesting. What's happening now? Okay, so if Bitcoin today rips this level, what do you guys think Popcat is going to do? Is going to perhaps keep going, right? So obviously that's kind of the hard thing of when not to buy. However, it looks like people that bought already is going to start taking profits, which is the most sensible thing. And what I will be looking for is to either buy spot on this one, but not leverage, definitely. So hopefully I answered the question for someone in the group that asked it. Now, what I will do, like, obviously this is a Scott's trade, but what I will do at the moment is I will take 50% of my profits now. In terms of leverage, if you went into leverage, I went into this trade with leverage as well. So I'll definitely take 50% off right now. Why not? And move my stop loss. And if this thing keeps going, that's fantastic. If this retraces, that's fantastic. And nothing happens, and I keep trading, right? I keep opening more positions because I'm now liberating capital. So that's my plan, especially now that we are going to go into this week of interesting events on the Israel aspect. So that's you know that's kind of something to be aware of if you're trading with leverage, right? So that's my plan. I will like have a chat with Scott in terms if he wants to do that, but I'll be doing that with my portfolio on PopCat. MNT, we're still on MNT. So we are in MNT on the daily, so it hasn't ripped the way that I wish it did. What I'll be doing, I'll be de-risking on these ones. I'll be calling this one as well. Even though it's on profit, right? And there's two options to play this one. I'll be closing 50% off just on a little bit of profit, just on the events of anything, right? Now that we have good place to actually be de-risking, I think that could be sensible, especially for the next 2 days. It's always time to get into new trades and things like that. So that's my plan. Same thing with Say. So Say was a beautiful trade. It's still a beautiful trade. Say, I think, is going to keep going up. But this is a good time to actually get another chunk of profits. I took some profits here. Now I'm going to get some profits here, and I'm just going to leave it. And we are in Rune as well. So Rune, we are in a little bit of loss on Rune, but I'm going to take 50% off as well. I'm de-risking pretty much on all the leverage stuff, at least for today, and then we'll assess. APT is working fantastic as well, so I'll be closing half. And this one is the only one that I might not move the stop loss. I'm going to leave it just because we might need to. I still have a lot of belief in APT, the way it's working. So it's just de-risking in a way, right? So yeah, Todd, yeah, DI, obviously, let's have a look. DI, it is looking great. So yeah, that's one of that's a good position that I went into. Yeah, that's the Ion Mexi, but if I look it up in where is it? I think this one was the one that I was. Yeah, definitely. We went in around this level, and it's working pretty well. Obviously, this is a spot. I wouldn't touch it. This could come back if you guys get another opportunity to get into this one at the same price. I think you should take it. And I'm gonna go through this stuff. So I'm doing a list of things that I want to get into if we get a pullback, right? So I need to be prepared on those ones. So that's the plan of all the existing trades that we have. Okay, so that's kind of how I'm going to be managing those. Now, in terms of new stuff, let's go into some stuff I went into. So Tau, if you guys watched my videos, I did place a limit order around here. I didn't call that one because obviously that's not a specific trade, obviously. But then, that's sort of the stuff that you can actually do with being more experienced in terms of pullbacks. I put another limit order here. I thought I was going to get the pullback, but not. I might start thinking on, like, Tau is very, very strong. As you can see, is not stopping. Therefore, what I'm looking very, very closely is to get some plays into the Tau ecosystem. Because if you miss this one, which I kind of did, then you can actually start thinking about what type of plays we can do in the same ecosystem, right? So with that being said, I think I'm still Neural and Chat. Look at Chat. I think I'm gonna go into Chat today, guys. So obviously bear in mind that if we do have a pullback, these ones, which are very, very low market cap, then they're going to be hurt a lot. Okay, so have that in mind. But where is that risk is also the opportunity. So I think Chat for me is going to be the biggest one. And this works on the Tau ecosystem, and it will be also as a beta aspect of it. And I think that if Tau keeps performing, this one will outperform as well. And this one hasn't hit the exchanges. Pretty good product, pretty good product. So that's kind of where the opportunity is. So obviously, Yeah, interesting on this one. So that's in terms of the Tau ecosystem. But I'm still looking to add more Tau as if we get a pullback, right? If we get a pullback to these levels, I'll be adding more. Because long term, I think Tau could be a really good opportunity. We did get into Fed as well on this level, so we still might retest it. If we retest it, then easy, there will be a lot of trade that you might miss in terms of the spot. But if we did this, all my list of if we do get healthy pullbacks, I want to get into these ones. Okay, FTM. I'm still looking to get into FTM. Looks okayish, but it doesn't look that strong. So it's losing a little bit of momentum, but it's not a bad idea. I want to get probably around the 60s. If we get the pullback, right? If we don't, then I'll just buy the breakout. Okay, but I wouldn't. If you want to enter now, you can start enter half size or things like that. You know that I do sometimes half size. Arrow as well. Looking into arrow, so either on the pullback or either on the breakout. Let's see what happens first, and hopefully we have a little bit of pullback on this one, and then I want to enter in this one. Aave as well. I want to get into Aave as well. It's looking pretty healthy and looking pretty good. So it's a lot of opportunities. CAS as well. Looking, CAS is holding this level. Has been holding pretty well, and look at this. This could be a leverage play, by the way. I'm just looking at this one. It looks pretty healthy for a leverage play. Why? We have pretty low volatility. Definitely could be a really good leverage play. So you can actually, we definitely have a pattern here, don't we, Ian? So we definitely have a retest right here, fairly freaking clear. We do have a lower volatility. We do have lower retests. So a healthy trade could look like this. Yeah, on the break on this, you enter with your positions, and then if everything continues to the upside, this could be a really good one. I'm going to highlight this one for the leverage. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. AR, still looking to get into AR as well, like to add more. We are in a position on AR, by the way, but I want to add more. And he's looking pretty okay. He's looking that this level is actually a good place to add a little bit more. So I might add more on this one. EGP, this is on the agent, sort of the new agent, the airdrop happening. There's a drop, but I think it's sensible. This could play up with all these new launches and things. This could play up very similar to Straw, the CRO trade that is working pretty well. So I'm looking at this one as well. And another one that I was looking very closely is the Sun. So Sun, this is, I think everybody forgot about the TRX and the Sun ecosystem. Why? Because Sui has been outperforming. There's a lot of opportunities on Sui in terms of meme coins and stuff like that. But Sun, the Sun ecosystem, if you want to call it that way, the TRX ecosystem, I think is bottoming out here. I've been tracking this one for a while. When is the bottom on this one? Because this could reach really new highs, and if it gets momentum on it, I think this could be really good one. Will I do leverage in this one? I don't know yet. I'm still undecisive on this one, but definitely a spot on this one could be a really good idea. But I think layer ones are outperforming pretty much everything. So layer ones in terms of Aptos, APT, which we already are, Sui, say, I think I'm gonna drive it looks like it's driving the next bull run. So I'm glad we are in say, we are on Sui on AP. So I'm looking for beta plays on these ones. And my beta play, which is, I think is my favorite, which I'm going to probably take today, is my beta play on Aptos. So I'm talking about Thala. I've been talking about it for the whole week. So Thala, it is on Aptos chain. So this could act is a beta as a beta play. So if you're not able to actually do leverage and stuff like that, the Thala is a spot play. You can't actually do any futures or any swaps on any contracts on any exchange yet. So if you buy this on spot, there's a highly likelihood that it is going to get momentum. So just over the weekend, in the last couple of days, this thing went up. So I'm looking to actually get into this one as well. But obviously, be mindful, yeah, 44%, not bad. So, and obviously the upside of this one because of the low liquidity, but low liquidity could act on different ways. Low liquidity could help you and could wreck you as well, because obviously this could go down pretty high, but it could come back pretty hard as well due to the low liquidity. But the fact that this could be a really good beta play on Aptos, it's not a lot of projects on Aptos, so I think this could get all the volatility in. So yeah, man, it's gonna get really interesting. So that's kind of the plan of attack for this week, guys. I'll be looking around. I might leverage down a little bit, but I'll be looking for some really good spot bags to start holding for the medium long term. So yeah.
Nice. That's really great, man. So yeah, I think it's all about just enjoying the week and let the week play out as it is. We're all here for the upside, you know. We're all here for the prizes that come, and these cycles, you know, they tend to work over a 4-year period. So for me, like, it's not like if we get a bull run, when we get a bull run. It's like we're in the bull run. We're probably 50% through the bull run. Like, we're not waiting for this bull run to suddenly turn up and go, "Hi, I'm the bull run."
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. In the same way, there's a number of comments that are like, "We're not going to do anything until the election, until the election, until the election." So I think Scott would probably use a phrase like "wash your brain out with soap" or something like that. So here's the thing with the election, right? Is anybody surprised? Is anybody going to wake up and go, "Fuck me, there was an election yesterday. Did you know America's got a new president?" Like, that's not going to happen, is it? There is no surprise about the election. It's clearly there and it's clearly going to happen, right? And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because you might have heard the phrase, "the market's priced it in." Now, what that phrase means is that there's no secret to what is happening. So when the Fed recently cut the interest rates, and it was quite a big cut, the market didn't go bananas either way. It wasn't like a surprise in any way at all. Surprises and global liquidity levels are what really pumps this Bitcoin, you know? Remember that Bitcoin was created as a hedge against the debasement of fiat currency. Debasement is when they put on the money printers. Why do they put on the money printers? Because we live in this situation where houses cannot fail, you know, because the collapse of the housing market. So it's just a game that they play repeatedly, and this game never stops playing. And that's why we have cycles, because these things happen over and over again. And then you get a cluster of things that happen. You go from threatening war to being at war. You go from an election coming up to having a new president. All of a sudden, the Chinese might be like, "Right, you know, this housing crisis that we've got going on, this property, just pump money, pump money, pump money." So all of these things, they all mix together and they create these conditions. But then you'll also hear Scott say, "Don't try and play," what does he say? Macro, like the macro guessing game, or whatever, you know, because, you know, pretty much the cleverest people in the world get together and figure out, you know, what they're going to do with these decisions at the macro level. So a lot of crypto is being able to just relax and enjoy it, you know. Like, there was a question up here, I think it was Jason Worrell, who asked, like, the best question of the day. I'm just trying to find it now. But basically, Jason was saying, like, well, hang on a minute. If you believe that's going to happen, then why don't you just buy the coin and hold it for 6 or 8 months? And it's like,
That's it.
and a drum roll. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I bought Woo when it was low. It pumped. I took profit. I bought Woo again when it was low. It did a small pump. I took a little bit of profit. I then bought Woo at the ridiculously low price, the insulting price of 0.11. I'm building a bag up over the longer term. Why? Because I believe in the fundamentals of Woo as a company. Why? Because the research has been done, you know? Who's Woo's CEO? Who's their liquidity provider? You know, so that's how you get your confidence in these things, is through the research. And then I'm building up a position over time. And then over time, 6 months, 8 months, whenever we're at the top, what I'll do is I'll start to scale out at probably at 20%, because I know that I'm not clever enough to pick the exact top, right? So I'll scale out 20% here, 20% here, 20% there. Maybe I miss the complete top. I might leave a 10% flyer bag in there. You know, maybe you're more clever than me and you ride Woo to the absolute top and you make a little bit more than me, right? Well, I can guarantee that my life is less stressful than yours. When I just start to come out of my position. And that's what this game is about. It's not trying to be the absolute exact, got to get the absolute top, you know. Retardio, that's a coin that we've been talking about almost non-stop. People are making an absolute killing on Retardio in the group, right? And other people are scratching their heads going, well, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it, right? Well, the way that people are making a fortune on Retardio is they've watched the Trojan bot video. They've listened to what Scott said about Retardio. They've bought in at these recent super low prices, and then they've set up the Trojan bot to take profits for them. So if you look at Retardio, I think it's at about 92 or something like that right now. This has been a coin that we've been with a long time. Scott loves it. He's constantly talking about it. Like, Retardio is probably the most talked about coin that we've got. And if we go back to the 4th of October.
This is our entry right here.
Yeah, that's our entry there. But then if we scoot forward months and months to like the 4th of October, look at where you could have got an entry. So I know there's a lot of coins on the 100x trade log, but that's why you've got Maurizio doing the daily updates, so he can show you what you're really interested in, okay? If you want to be a bit more hobbyist, then you've got to be looking at these charts, right? You've got to be looking at these charts and going, well, okay, then they said entry at this price. Jesus, look at this Retardio. It's almost the same price that they got it as entry months and months back. Well, does that equal a good place to enter, or does that equal a bad place to enter? And it's like, these become simple questions. These are not, you know, now I might say to somebody, in October, when we hit this price, it was this much more than when we got the first entry. Is it a good entry or is it a bad entry, right? And then somebody will come over the top and go, well, the flip-flop with the flip-flop's not pointing in the flip-flop, and the moon's with the moon and the moon, and complex. Why are you complicating it? Okay. So get the Trojan bot. Now, it's like, you look at this now and you think, oh, I'll buy now. Sure, you can buy now, right? We've obviously just had a great run. What does Retardio normally do after a great run? It normally pulls back a little bit. Why does it pull back a little bit? Because people are taking profits. How are they taking profits? They're using things like the Retardio bot to take profit. Now, the more people that want to get in on Retardio, well, those people then become the exit liquidity for those people that got in at the lower prices at the start of October. That's simply what makes the market. If I was going to buy Retardio today, right, I would buy it with the expectation that I'm joining this part of the trend very late. And then the maximum, if you're going to use leverage, the maximum you use is about 2%, which is what is in line with what Scott says for leverage trading. 4% at the start of move, 2% at kind of the middle of the move. This is a super volatile coin, right? So this is not the kind of thing that, you know, if you're Scott, you can put on 50, 100 grand, right? And you can be down 80 of that 100 grand and you can weather it because you're like that. Well, this is no problem. This is the game. If you can't stomach that, then you have to find a way to trade these coins in a way that you can stomach it, basically, because this game doesn't care about your feelings. So people say, is Retardio still a good buy? Yes, it's a good buy. It was a better buy previously than it is today. So now you have to make that choice of, do you join it mid-trend or do you wait for a pullback? Okay, you're asking these questions because you arrived at the party a little bit late.
Correct. And adding into it, obviously, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different mindset when you enter here and you're on profit and you're ready to profit than when you enter here and it's your first new trade. Different mindset, because obviously from the stressful perspective, you already made profit. You don't care what happened with this thing. You don't care if this thing goes to down. So that's why we assess in terms of the someone's question, right? In you know, why you don't buy and hold it. That's really good if you are okay with drawdowns, but that's why I trade every day to find the better buys, the better risk reward ratios to bet. You know, if this drops, I'll assess if I just rebuy here or sell or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but then the buy and hold, I think, is a great strategy. But you have to be mindful as well that markets could turn completely. You know what I mean? And in a matter of a day, right? So we need to assess that as well to see, right? Maybe we just, you know, de-risk here and there, stuff like that. So yeah, that well said, Ian. With that said, before we go, because I know we're conscious on time. Before we go, I want to show you 3 things that I'm looking into the SUI ecosystem, because our trade, we went into Blub a while back, is doing well. I wish it's not doing as great as I was waiting, but it's still holding. It's holding pretty well. But there is this other new stuff coming into the SUI ecosystem. I'm looking at Plop and I'm looking at Hippo. So, and that's kind of brand newish. You know, they just started a couple of days ago. Yeah, like a week ago. So I'm looking into these ones. Have that in your radar because we might get into these memes as well. It seems to be very, very strong at the moment in terms of everything. So yeah, that's kind of what I have in terms of SUI as well. I have all these 2 new ones.
Nice. Yeah, I'm conscious of time. So I think the last point from me is another really great question from Jason, right? Jason says, my problem is, this is in the thing with, you know, monitoring the coins, right? Jason says, my problem is I had too many coins to monitor them. So I missed the Retardio dip, right? Okay, that's totally fair enough, right? It might surprise people like how many coins like I monitor, because I don't monitor like 50 or 100 coins because it's too much. It's too much. I can't do it. You know, even if I had $1 bazillion to invest, I'm still not going to spread myself out over, you know, or I'm not going to put myself in a position where I've got too many coins and I can't monitor them, right? Now, what this means is, this means that you've got to get good with FOMO. It's like you've got to get good with, yeah, great, there's a trade here, but I'm not going to take it. You know, if it moons, it moons. I'll get the next one. You know, this is the thing. There's an infinite number of trades. You know, and we do have second entries on trades and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I mean, again, this is in the welcome post about how you can distribute your funds. And, you know, there are recurring questions that, you know, people say, well, Scott, what's the best thing to do if you've only got a small pot? Well, you want to consolidate in a few coins, maybe 3, maybe 4 that you want to consolidate in. I've got a great big bag of money, Ian. Great. Well, if you put that into 100 coins, you've got to check 100 coins, and that's just too much of a headache, you know? And then you get to the law of diminishing returns as well. If you've got positions in 15 or 20 coins, you know, listen to the bias stuff that Scott talks about, because when he says things like turd wrapped in the same glitter, at first that's just like something funny that this big man says. But then the more that you start to think about these things and the more knowledge that you get, you then start to think, right, he says these funny things because these actually perfectly capture the scenario of what is going on inside you, if you know what I mean. You're stretched to your limit. You've got no dry powder, right? A trade alert goes out. Oh, where can I get a couple of $100 from? So then what do? You then look at the things that you don't like anymore. Well, I don't really like that anymore. So I'll have that. I'll have that one out of there and I'll take a bit of money from here. Like, that's how shit works. That is just how it works, you know? It's like people are human beings at the end of the day and they stop doing rational stuff. And when the heat is on, when the money's pumping or when the money's drawing down, then they tend to be even worse at making rational decisions. That's when the heat is really on. So with all that said, let Maurizio and Scott do the hard work. They say when to buy, they say when to sell. That's the core idea of the 100x Club, is that it's a signal service. Buy, sell, buy, sell. The stuff in between is the hobbyist stuff that you can pick up on, right? There was a couple of questions about in the chat about, could I explain the price action setup, right? The RTV is the price action setup that basically fuels all of Scott's trading, and I think that we talk about it pretty much every single kind of session that we go through. Any former CSI members should know the RTV kind of like the back of their hand as well, you know. And it simply is, you know, you're looking, well, I mean, the one that I did this morning was called a retest of the lows. I was looking for the lowest bar, the lowest low in 10 bars, and then a higher close, and then a lower close. And it really is as simple as that. It gets more complicated when you get a bit more knowledge. So it's like, well, would you have taken the trade on that one, Ian? Well, I'm not sure, because I know that there's this really fat line of resistance around 63.5, which I think, yeah, we're kind of pushing through that now. So you know, we've had the kind of move this morning that's exactly what we wanted to see. So a lot of excitement, and that's it. That's it from me.
All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll catch up during the week. By the way, I've been talking about the WMT thing and the upgrade. I'll be doing some more videos about that, and yeah, helping out people. I know people have some questions, so yeah, bear with me. We'll get all those videos out tomorrow. All right.
Nice. See you all in the group. Ta-da.